Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for joining us this week. We're coming to you. You know, I say live. We're recording this live, but we're not really live. This is a podcast, Brian.
I don't know about you, but I am quite alive.
Yeah, that's a matter of opinion. But we're on location today.
Yes.
We are at the Georgia Craft Brewers Festival in Atlanta, Georgia, celebrating all the great Georgia craft beer.
That is correct.
And we're going to get out and check it out. We've got awesome folks here with us today. Of course, I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt is with me. Special treat today, Becky Smalls.
Hello.
Is here. She pops in every now and then, so she doesn't want you to get too used to her. Want to make it special.
Exactly. I want you to miss me.
Absolutely. That totally makes sense.
It's a special occasion, so it calls for Smalls.
Yeah. And the most important guest of all, we have Lucy Tusink here from Crooked Culture Brewing, one of Georgia's newer breweries. Maybe not newest. Lucy, it's getting to the point, 5 years ago, I'd know about any brewery that even remotely got talked about. Now, occasionally, there's a brewery that opens up, and I don't even know.
Sure.
I find out. So I guess that's good that we've got a lot going on, but it was nice when I knew everything.
If you're open, I've been there.
Yeah,
I remember those years, too.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. And not the focus of this particular show, but you and your husband have a brewery as well, Frame Shift Fermentation, and kind of a focus on the funk in the farmhouse. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We're still a nomadic kind of brewery and planning, no brick and mortar, but lots of collabs with all our great colleagues and friends, and kind of focusing on that spontaneous fermentation, wild yeast. Also great clean lagers, so that's kind of our long game.
Are you still planning or looking at spaces? I think it was North Georgia somewhere, like Blue Ridge or something like that. Pretty far up there, right?
Yeah, we like to be up in the North Georgia for sure, kind of in the foothills, kind of on the way out to Asheville or all the mountain trails. We're pretty open. We've got our ear to the ground. We'd like to be in some little town, really make it our own, and go from there. So definitely
Very
up that
cool.
way.
It's not talking about the growth of breweries. We were commenting the other day, out of date. We're working on updating it now, but we keep a Georgia brewery map and list. And for many years, the thing was you had your clusters. You had your Atlanta cluster. You had Athens, Georgia. We had a cluster, and then Savannah, coastal Georgia. But you got into anywhere in rural Georgia, very little chance of you having a brewery to go to, and that's not the case anymore. We're filling in the map, so it's kind of cool to see everything coming together there. But Crooked Culture Brewing. You're in Cumming, Georgia, which is Are you still considered suburbs of Atlanta? I know we get that's a high definition.
That's kind of pushing it a lot.
Yeah.
I joke that Cumming has become the metro area just because of the growth of Forsyth County that we're seeing up there.
Sure.
But I still kind of hold on to that as a joke because it's so far beyond there. When I grew up in the metro area, I had never went to Cumming. But now it's, filling up with folks who don't think it's that far, and it's really not that far. But
my very first trip to Atlanta, I had a project here. They said, you're going to have a project in Atlanta. I'm like, great. I show up. I had to drive out to Alpharetta because that's where the actual project was.
Right.
So if Alpharetta many, 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 many years ago was part of Atlanta, I guess at this point, Cumming basically is.
Yeah,
too.
it keeps growing. And there's a fancy term for the metropolitan geographical, whatever. They throw counties in. I know my county just makes the cutoff. Like the county north of me is not. But so anyhow, there's your little bit of Atlanta facts, people, how they look at it. So Cumming is close enough to Atlanta that maybe it's a suburb, but maybe it's a day getaway, right?
Right.
Go up there. If you're from Atlanta, shoot north and go check it out because you know what? There's a good brewery.
There are.
Up in Cumming, Georgia,
There
right?
is.
If you hit the state border with Tennessee, you are definitely outside of Atlanta at that point.
That's right. And I think it'd actually be South Carolina up that way.
Depending on which direction you're going. Is it South Carolina? I don't even know. I don't know my geography. Sorry, guys.
But Lucy, thanks for sitting down with us. We appreciate it.
Of course.
And
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're here. This is a new venue for the Georgia Brewers Festival. We're at a place called West Side Paper, and kind of a cool, it's covered but open and airy. And we're trying to avoid some thunderstorms today, but we're making it. It's really nice here right now. But tell us a little bit about Crooked Culture, please.
Sure. So Crooked Culture, we've been open 6 months. So far, we opened in November, a little over 6 months. We've been in the works for a long time. Patrick Leonard, the co-founder, he's been working on opening his own spot for a good long time. Started as a home brewer, That was 20 years ago. Been commercially brewing for 10 years. And I met him when I was in my first brewery job back in the day, back at Gate City when we opened Gate City. So he was that opening head brewer. That's also where I met Crooked Culture's head brewer, Jeff Gardner. Once he had moved from Asheville down to Georgia, then he ended up at Gate City back then. Pat also helped open Jekyll Brewing, and they've both also helped out a lot at Six Bridges. So Crooked Culture has been really exciting. There was some other location options that Pat had been looking at, Chambly, some other kind of similar to Frame Shift, where almost opening, but then kind of, changing paths a little bit. So Crooked Culture, amazing culmination of all of this passion and determination going forward. Really beautiful space. We're in a new development up and coming called Cumming City Center. So it's a Cumming City owned multi-use development. It's not quite residential just yet, but we're surrounded by a bunch of units popping up and looking forward to the added people, added neighbors. But great bunch of retail, bunch of amazing restaurants. There's an amphitheater with live concerts every Friday and Saturday. So really a great destination for that area. Not very far off 400, right off exit 15, exit 14. There's multiple ways to get there once you're up there. But if you're not from the area, it's nice for folks in Georgia kind of make that trip up to the nature part of North Georgia. So the lake, the mountains, and anywhere you're going and you need a cold beer in either direction, we're there for you.
If you're in the Atlanta area and they say just head north on 400, you're like, all right, I know where I'm going now. I know where I'm going. Sure enough. So with Crooked Culture, and I know Pat's brewing, from Gate City and previously the beers that he did there, but is there a certain focus at Crooked Culture?
I think we're having a good time figuring that out. I mean, we care so much about technically great beer and a lot of great IPAs. Pat had really fallen in love with a lot of the West Coast IPAs that he could get out in his California days. A lot of us have Sierra Nevada Pale Ale as one of our little inception craft beers by the time it made it to Georgia. And we have a good time with our old school IPAs, now our hazy IPAs we have a great time with as well. Some great Pilsners. We are really focused. Crooked Culture, the name itself, comes from focusing on different yeast strains, focusing on brewing different beers with an identified yeast strain. We have a yeast lab that we love that we're learning a lot about. Just a lot of good American-style basis, but then trying to take what we've loved from our careers and then kind of adapt it right and keep up with the trends as well.
That's something nice, getting people that do come from a mix of different places. You're all bringing something different, your personal style and kind of what you've learned other places and such. So, it's great. We're seeing you had, at the festival today, you have 2 collaborations on.
Yes.
And one was with Good Word Brewing, and one, I think, with Wrecking Bar Brew Pub, correct?
Yes.
And why don't you tell us about the collabs you've got on here today?
Yeah, definitely. So, great friends with Todd over at Good Word. He had met Pat back when he was when he was planning Good Word. He learned some of the commercial brewing processes at Gate City, where Pat was still head brewing at the time. So they've known each other a long time. Todd has also been super integral helping us with getting open as well. But we had a good time making this West Coast Pilsner called I Like Your Style, Dude.
Thank you. I love it.
She's not talking to you, Brian.
I feel like she really is.
Well,
okay,
yeah.
When I say that, I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably knew immediately, though, what we're referencing. And hopefully there's a little bit of call and response with the response quote, but I'll put it in there, I like your style too, man. Big Lebowski fans over here.
Yes.
And I love thinking about the conversation between the dude and the stranger being Pat and Todd. They can alternate who's who. That's fine. No one needs to be assigned, but we had a good time making this beer. It kind of follows both of what we're into, traditional styles, modern twists. So we brewed Pilsner with American hops, Amarillo, Strata, Citra Cryo. So also kind of working into some of those new ways that you can get hops in these days. Really delicious. Nice kind of low bitterness, even for a West Coast, but nice tropical fruity notes going on there. So definitely had a great time getting to put something out for Georgia to try on that front. And then with our Wrecking Bar collab, it's called Did You Read My Resume? we love Tim. We both go way back with Tim. Back when Tim worked at the Porter and the Brick Store, and I used to work at the Brick Store, and it's just fun bringing everything together. We did a cold IPA with Wrecking Bar, all single hop Chinook, so nice little American dryness on there as well. Really delicious. And I love that we have a West Coast Pilsner collab and a cold IPA collab, because I'm sure your listeners as well can kind of make the connection
Those styles,
on what camps, who calls what, right?
And when you say Tim, you're referring to Tim Schiavone. Tim is the head brewer at Wrecking Bar. And Tim has done time with a few breweries in Georgia.
He's made the rounds.
He's been part of the scene, very, very long time.
He's a legend.
Yes, the legend that is Tim Schiavone. Good stuff. I remember my first medal win as a home brewer at the Peach State Brew Off. Tim also medaled there.
Oh,
so
wow.
now I think Tim had like 4 where I had like 1 bronze, and I'm like, yeah. So have you guys seen that meme where it's like they show someone spraying champagne and cheering?
Yes.
And when you scan out, that's the third place, and they're the one.
Winner,
That's me. That was me. There is like I'm on the third place podium, but high fiving everybody around and all of that. So
as you should.
Yeah, exactly. So Lucy, I want to shift, and for the rest of the show, which is probably another 40 minutes, I want to talk about a topic that's really important to both of us, and that's pinball.
Ooh, that's right.
We were talking, Lucy and I, we were both at the Little Beer Fest recently, and we were talking about that. So you're kind of on a mission to get someone up North Georgia-ish to get some pinball going, right?
I am. There's a bit of a dead zone really right in that Forsyth area. I can drive about an hour in every direction and find a great pinball bar, but I can't find one closer than that. And so I'm ready to either encourage someone to open one or put more machines somewhere or something.
And this is with you looking at Pinball Map to make sure there isn't one that sneaks up on you, right?
Wait, hold up. There's an app to...
Yeah,
wow.
for sure. Yes, Smalls, we got to get you in on that.
Yeah, you got to catch up here. Pinball Map.
Well, I will say my closest machine at the Friends Dawson Grill, right close to me, one of my local dives, I am right now the grand champ on that Ghostbusters machine.
The Ghostbusters.
Really?
So
Okay,
where I can find them, I try and make it count. I can give a little shout out to that. I'd never grand champed a machine till then, so it was a good day.
Yeah, I haven't grand championed before, so
that's impressive. Yeah.
I've got a few, like, what do they track? Like top 5 or 3 to 5, I think, depending on the machine.
Like
I've hit one of those every now and then, but we're excited that Stern's latest machine release, John Wick.
That's right.
They just had, and one of our pinball arcades just got the John Wick machine.
It did,
so
yeah.
We'll be checking that out.
And it was very hard to show up for this knowing that pinball machine
Yeah,
was out
because it
there.
just
We
hit
could be
yesterday,
playing that
right.
instead. But we're here. That's fine. It's fine. We can do this.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Now, a lot of things have changed in beer, Georgia beer everywhere over the last 4 years. I know it's always a nerve-wracking and challenging time to open a new business, but right now in beer, let's face it, it's a hey, we're opening. You better believe 110%. You're not riding the wave of craft beer right now.
Nope.
So, with that said, what do you specifically do, or what's Crooked Culture do to kind of keep up with the new beer as it is now?
Sure. I think a really integral these days to craft beer is making sure that it's not just about the product, but about the experience as well, the environment, the type of staff service that you're offering. And we really at Crooked Culture focus on all of those things combined. We understand that some people might wander in to our space and it happens to be a brewery, and we have those sort of first timers all the time, but we want them to have a great time as well. So even though the beer education point, 10 years ago we were doing that, right? You'd come into a tap room, let's talk to you about a craft brewery.
Right.
That hasn't changed too much. There's still first time craft brewery beer drinkers, even with the way the market has ebbed and flowed and declined in some ways. So at Crooked Culture, our giant space that people love, we do brew a seltzer. We brew some rotating, all naturally fruited seltzers. We just try and accommodate whoever wants to join us in the atmosphere that really is the driving force of what we were creating. So for us, of course, we want the beer to be fantastic, and it is, but we also understand that now it's a little bit broader than that. It's where people want to, if they're not home and they're not at work, where are they going to go? And we want that to be where we are. So
the third spot, as they're calling it. I know we all here remember Smalls. I know you used to hang out, Brian and I and all that, back in the day. Our buddy Scott Hadeen is running around here right now. And Scott is in the process of shooting a craft beer TV show.
Oh.
So he's working on that now. But Scott was the owner of Burnt Hickory Brewery, which unfortunately, RIP, one that fell victim to, the industry or whatever you want to call it. But when they first opened, they were in an industrial commercial back away from everything. And when they opened, that was totally fine because people were going to hunt you down.
Yeah.
And I think when we first started going to Burnt Hickory, they only did a tasting like once a month.
But those were fun.
They were
tasties.
so fun
those
there.
Were just
So-
a huge party. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that when we started passing some of the beer laws here, like, SB 63 and 85 back in 2016. And that we were talking, I forget who it was that we were talking to, but I know one example is JR from Max Lagers and Bold Monk. JR has been in beer in Georgia for 30 years or so.
Mhm.
And so he's fought through a lot of laws and, has been hurt by these laws. And we were just kind of talking about, hey, man, it really stunk to go through all this, but it sure is fun to be here when it changes,
That's right.
And I think that, that time in beer, going to those monthly tastings, when we first went to those, there may be 30 or 40 people there. Then 2 months later, there's 200. Then 2 months later, there's 500. And then, of course, the laws change. So, I wouldn't want to go back to the laws then because we've seen so much growth. But because it was so small and exclusive, it was exciting. It was fun. It was limited. It was LE, Becky. Everything was
super
LE.
LE. So something I want to ask, I've been thinking about because you've been involved in like multiple breweries, like getting started. Like, what's the ideal? What are you looking for when you're setting up a brewery? What's the ideal like environment around the brewery? Where would you open a brewery these days? Like,
wow.
with the industry where it's at now. Because obviously it's not in an industrial park tucked away somewhere.
Right.
What's the ideal? What's like the unicorn like spot for a brewery?
That's a great question. And on the frame shift tip, that's a question that we get asked all the time. Well, when are you finally going to open? Well, we're not really in a hurry. I think to me there's a difference between the long game brewery and then maybe more so the experimental short game brewery. I think probably every state is seeing, not just Georgia. I think these days, if you're going to open a brewery, you hopefully have at least some sort of dedicated community that is looking for a space like that. I was at Rock Solid recently over in Ball Ground, and that brewery gave me that vibe for sure. I mean, small, downtown area. The tap room, it was a weekday. It wasn't that it should have been packed. It's not a high volume day, but you could tell that the people who were there were super stoked to be there. I think that will continue to be a lot of the bread and butter moving forward for breweries old and new until the Georgia laws can change. I mean, speaking of the Guild Fest that we're at today, Georgia Craft Brewers Guild, having tried to pass the foam bill this past year, we'll try again every session until we can get a little bit, less stringent distribution laws for our little local breweries. But until that happens, the distro footprint, if you're on a smaller scale, isn't the ticket to success that it sometimes is made out to be, purely because of the amount of resources that go into it and then all of the steps between grain and then the final glass post-distribution. But if we can focus as a statewide industry on the steps between grain and the glass in your tap room, and we can make sure that the tap room is somewhere that you didn't just drop it there because you liked the landlord and you liked the rent price, but you kind of did some due diligence in that small, maybe it's a small town, maybe it's a big town where that neighborhood on the side is having to travel too far to their local brewery, but kind of paying more attention to the people who are already there, the growth patterns that are happening as Atlanta is changing and the metro area is expanding. That's kind of what I have my eye on for anyone moving forward, and even with additional locations as well.
Are you holding off a little bit, like to commit to opening a place until that something like the Foam Act passes? Like, is that kind of like, I want that to go first before we do anything? Because that will change things, right? I mean,
Sure.
just a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even having a small self-distributed radius, we would all still need our distributors. But if we could also take something to our corner bar and it didn't have the freight attached and all of the labor attached from the distributor themselves, I mean, the national precedent is there for that would help everybody. I don't think frame shift is necessarily, it would be nice if it happened to be that we had other things going on and then it was able to pass, but we'll open either way. I mean, we would we'd probably still open if we were still doing tours and tastings. I mean, I think that's kind of what sets. It's like, passion tax isn't a great thing, but if this is what you're committed to, my brewery shouldn't be my retirement plan, but I don't have a retirement plan. I'm probably hopefully I'll be able to be in my brewery until they wheel me out.
Roll you out of there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's dedication. Tours and tasting. We'd still do it. I'm like, ooh.
I know that's probably 5
I don't think a lot of places would.
I still found tokens in my desk from those days, and I'm like, I'm going to hold on to these. You never know.
Speaking of changing the beer laws, and this applies in Georgia because I'm on Georgia Beer Forum. Shout out to the crew at Reddit ATL Beer. Going there a lot, and people are passionate about their beer, their breweries, and the beer laws. And one thing I'll say, anytime a bill comes up and people are fighting for it, and I can say this goes back, Joseph Cortez is the executive director of the Guild now. Nancy Palmer was the original director of the Guild. We worked with Nancy a lot. But no matter what the bill was, there were a lot of people that were pretty vocal about this isn't enough, this isn't doing this isn't doing that. If you've been part of Georgia Beer for 10 years, 15, 20, 25 years, this is a hard fight. Changing alcohol laws, there's a lot more to it than, you have a business interest. The wholesalers have money and they have influence, and they don't want you to self-distribute. They want you to go through them to make their money. And you know what? I understand protecting your business interests, but you can't hurt somebody else because of that, And there's also religious interests for other things, There's talking about raising the ABV caps and that. I would love to see the ABV cap. And if we did have no cap, Becky, no cap. If it was no cap, then we're not going to have everybody brewing 20% beers. They're expensive, they're hard to make and everything. And, I've heard the comment about, well, we don't want these 20% beers and kids out there getting them. I'm like, look, I paid $40 for an 18%. These aren't the beers that kids are looking to get drunk on. But understand that this is a process, that there are literally laws that took 20 years to get changed. And it may not be the idea, everything you want, but you have to make little changes and just keep working at it. Make it a little bit better each time. And the fact that we made it a little bit better, I say we very generously to myself. I was, a lot of others worked a heck of a lot harder than I did, but the fact that they fought to make those little changes is why we've tripled the number of breweries in Georgia. Are the laws perfect? No, by no means. But little changes have constantly improved what the brewers of Georgia are able to do, and that applies anywhere that they're looking to make changes to laws. New Jersey, we followed their laws a lot with the things there. We talked to them at Little Beer Fest, I think 2 years ago, where you couldn't even have a food truck at a brewery, or it was limited to the number, and if you did have a food truck there, you couldn't tell anybody it was there. Like, you just had to show up, and maybe there was a food truck there. So.
You couldn't even play. You couldn't even have a TV on, play like the game or something.
That was an event.
Anything. That was an event, and you would get fined for it. Or you can only have the TV on a limited number of times. I forget the exact laws. Ridiculous and draconian. Like, what are you doing here?
Crazy.
I just you are hamstringing these businesses. Apparently, the people that wrote these laws are not interested in the revenue that would come from well-attended tap rooms, because that's what you're getting.
Yeah,
you're
crazy laws everywhere. Sometimes we feel like we're the only ones that have insane laws, but they're all over out there. That's for sure. So, Lucy, what's next? What can people look forward to next from Crooked Culture?
Ooh, lots of stuff. In our first year, so we have a rooftop patio.
Cool.
It will eventually be a rooftop bar, so a little container bar up there. We're about to have our shaded pergola completed. You can see the amphitheater concerts from said rooftop bar, so we're very excited about that. We also will have, I mentioned Rock Solid earlier in Ball Ground. There's a restaurant out in Ball Ground some people might be familiar with called Dominic's. They do New York wood-fired grill, pizza and
steaks and stuff.
Yeah, burgers, all that good stuff. They will be opening as our permanent food partner this summer. So we will eventually have open 7 days a week with Dominic's at our side, and we're excited for that as well. We have some different events we're working on, coordinating. I probably shouldn't say too much about that, but we're excited about that. More collaborations definitely coming down our lines into our tank. So, yeah, just super excited to
You said something. You said a word, and I don't know if I know what it is. Pergola? Was that what it was?
Yes.
What is a pergola?
Yes. So,
You don't know what that?
No.
Let's all shame
Let's-
Brian
let's
for not
all
Is it
knowing
like a
mansplain.
pagoda or
You've
something?
seen
What's a
one.
pergola?
You've seen one.
Okay, probably.
It's kind of, a structure, typically a wooden structure that has a little bit of coverage to it. So it's kind of just a shaded. How would y'all describe it differently?
It's kind of like a covered patio, but just the frame.
Yes.
And
Oh,
then
so you
can-
didn't
yeah.
finish putting a roof on it, so the sun still gets through.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of this.
So it's like the
You're
roof isn't.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah, the roof isn't going to be built as part. Like it can be covered, but the pergola itself is not. You can have a pergola that's not covered,
Okay.
just kind of framed, and it looks nice. And
Okay.
maybe they'll hang some plants or lights
Lights,
from it or
plants.
something.
This might be my shiplap or whatever.
What was that? Is that it? Shiplap? I think
Is
that
that
was
shiplap?
it, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Oh, going to the beer guy's Wayback Machine.
That's
there.
right. I
Oh,
pulled that
yeah.
way
We'll
out
have
of history.
shiplap. What
The
are you talking
archives.
about? Man? Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
now I
cool.
know.
Well, yeah, sounds awesome. I have not made it up there yet, so we have to get up there
Oh,
soon
yes.
to check it out.
Please do.
So I've seen
Let
you
me know.
twice at Beer Fest, but not up to the brewery yet.
Yes.
Again, we are at the Georgia Craft Beer Festival, drinking all Georgia beer Smalls. What's your favorite that you've tried so far?
Oh, I'm going with the Atlantucky, the mango habanero one.
Okay.
That was amazing. Spicy, sweet. Pairs well with the meat pies.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
heaps meat pies, man. Yeah.
Lucy, what's been? I timed it out perfect right as she took a drink to ask her a question there.
So,
What is your favorite that you tried today?
ooh, favorite thing I've tried.
You can't pick your own. We'll throw that out there.
Why not?
I know.
It might be the best
It
one.
could be.
Well,
So
I'm sitting here wishing I'd tried more things before I got
I've
here.
still got a lot to do as well.
Not that everything hasn't been great, but trying to. I had some great stuff over at Cultivation.
Okay, cool.
I'm drinking right now the award-winning, the collaboration between Southern Prohibition and Tucker Brewing.
Okay.
Okay.
That's doing nice little bronze medal winner there. They believe it's a single. I'm gonna say single triple. That doesn't make any sense. So I obviously don't remember
Could
what I.
be.
what
It could.
I'm
It's just one
drinking
single
at this
triple.
point.
That makes sense to me, right?
Just the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome.
excited to try some more stuff for
Cool.
sure.
Good stuff. Brian, how about you, man? What's been the favorite so far?
I am tempted to go with the Atlantucky, but just to be different, I think I'm gonna give I like your style, dude. The shout out, I really like that. I like saying the name. So, but honorary mention to Three Taverns. It was a hazy on Ponce was the
that
better
one
of the
was
two.
good. Yeah,
they had a
the
juicy,
hazy one
which was
good.
fine, but the hazy was
better.
really good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with I like your style, dude.
So I think it says something for Atlantucky that all three of us were going to go with the same beer as our favorite, and I'm not going to go different. The Habo Manganero, the name always confuses
Habo
me.
Manganero,
But
yes.
it's a mango habanero beer. Now, I'm going to say we've tried this beer since it was experimental, since it
Yes.
was a homebrew test batch. They have really got this dialed in. And Smalls, like you said, it going really good with the meat pies. This definitely would go well with a slice of pizza, the meat pies. But shout out to those guys. Actually, we're going to talk to them a little later on the show. But shout out to their beer right now, for sure. Good stuff. So
Skinny's really dialing it in. He'll probably tell
Yeah.
us all about them peppers.
yeah, and the cool thing with those guys, you know what? I'll save it for their part. But they're hands-on with their brewing, and they both have their specialties that they do there. So, Lucy, thanks for hanging with us. We
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Sharing about
Always
the
great
brewery.
to see y'all.
Yeah, we're going to take just a little break, and we'll be back soon. See you then. Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are still on location at the Georgia Craft Beer Festival. We've got Skinny DeVille with us.
Hey!
Skinny with Atlantucky Brewing.
Yes, sir.
Also Nappy Roots.
Awesome.
So we're going to focus on Atlantucky here, but Nappy Roots just dropped a new track recently.
Yes,
right?
we got a new single. It's called Play Close, out on all streaming platforms right now. Make sure you check that out. We're still rapping, and somehow we still have time to make beer.
You guys stay busy, man.
Trying
Go
to,
off
man.
to a show, come back, brew some beer.
Absolutely.
Go to the studio, do it again, right?
Absolutely. It's how it's supposed to work.
Are you rapping while you're brewing at the same time?
No.
No? Okay, all right.
No, I mean, we listen to a lot of things when we brew. We have our TV, so we're looking at maybe some YouTube. We're looking at, Club Shay Shay or some kind of, something to occupy our mind while we're brewing for 8 hours, but we're not really rapping while we brew. That would be counterproductive. Something's going to suck.
Stay focused, either the raps or the beer.
Something's
right?
going to suck. You're going to forget to forget to drop something, or forget to pitch the yeast. Something's going to go left.
We've been there. We know how that goes. Good stuff. Well, Skinny, out here, Georgia Craft Beer Festival, celebrating all things Georgia beer. What's been your favorite that you've tried around here today?
Man, I've been at my booth the whole time drinking my own stuff.
Okay, all right.
But I just had the Pilsner from right next door to us. I can't remember the name of the brewery, but it's New Zealand IPA, I feel like. It's pretty good. I'm not mad. I want to get something to eat, but if I eat, then it's going to take me right out the game. So
just put you down for the count.
Man, this is a marathon. If you ever come to a beer festival, you got to pace yourself.
You do.
Because if you don't, man, you're going to mess up by the third booth.
When we first met you guys, probably a month or so after the Decatur Craft Beer Festival came around.
Yep.
And did you come out to? I
didn't get a chance to make it. Yeah, Scales did that one.
Scales hit that one, and we were just starting to hang out, so we're talking all things beer. He knew some of the brewers, but meeting a lot of the brewers, so everybody wants him to try everything.
Right.
I don't know if I've shared this with you, but one of my greatest life memories is we were kind of, I won't say passed out, but lounging on the courthouse steps in Decatur, Georgia.
Okay.
Singing All in All. And I'm like, this is great, man. This is just great. So,
yes,
it was good.
I wish there was a recording of that. That
But
would have been Grammy worthy, I'm sure.
We did
been priceless. Priceless.
Yeah.
Then we hit Brick Store Pub.
Oh, my God. After that?
Then
more? There's more?
Scales is dangerous sometimes because we go to this I forget the Irish pub there. Well, what was the one that was
Mac
there?
McGee's?
Mac McGee's.
Yeah.
And they're talking and all that, and Scales brings up picklebacks.
Oh,
That's
and
where
next
that
thing
came
I
from.
know, there's a tray of whiskey and pickle juice out there. So
once Scales gets going, man, he's like a snowball out of hell.
it was good.
Once he gets to rolling, man, it's hard to stop.
It's rolling. It's rolling.
I think that exchange inspired the time that I had you guys out. When you came out and I had Jameson and I'd made picklebacks with Jameson or something like that.
You did the whiskey pickles that were
like
horrible.
whiskey pickles. Yeah,
At the station.
At the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't think anybody liked them, but
He was nice to you
I
about it.
paid for it. I paid for it, and all nickels.
Yeah.
I respect you for trying it. You're like, I'm going to try it.
It was good, though. No, it was good.
It was good.
I'm not a big pickle juice guy, but that was good.
All right.
There we go.
I don't feel as bad about it now, but yeah, it was one of my experiments that did not go as well as planned. So.
Yeah.
Really, that one? I thought it went well.
Good.
Are you
good.
remembering this correctly? I think. You know what? I think
I
maybe
blacked
he
out.
liked him better. There we go.
But I feel like it started right.
That
Started
explains
all
it all.
right.
Yeah.
Started all right. Yeah,
like,
that was good times, man.
Everything I remember went well. So yeah. That
Yeah,
sounds about
I think
right.
that was the time you started breaking out all the heavy artillery, though.
We're known to do that. We're not. Now,
You gave me that smile, and
I
it's like,
honestly
yeah.
have chilled down a little bit, but I was thinking a bit. We saw Garrett Lockhart earlier that used to be with Red Brick Brewing, and me and you and Scales and Brian, and we had a time there where they shut the doors and stayed, and we hung out with the brewing crew. And,
Who was? Oh, dude, Scram?
It got weird after that.
Scram was there. Yeah,
Scram
that's
was
where we met
there.
Scram.
Yeah,
he was there.
he was there too. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Reminiscent, but we have done some drinking. I am now post apocalypse. I've chilled out a little bit. I still like to go out and have a good time. We went out last weekend and explored mezcal a little bit. You ever mess with mezcal?
The actual drink?
Yeah. So that I hadn't really done it much, but we went. There's a place.
It's all right.
Well, you know what? We went to this joint in is it Decatur or Avondale where we went? I forget. But
I think it's Avondale.
This place called Tortuga y Chango, and it's a mezcal bar and like taco shop, and we tried some flights, and they gave us like slices of orange and smoked salt to go with it.
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
It was a good time, man, but that's the first time I'd done that. So
we got VIP treatment, and they had no
took
idea
good
who we
care of
were.
us.
They're like, we're just
It was a good
some
time.
idiot gringos that came in. Like, no, we'll set you up. We'll get you the whole thing, the slices and everything. Man, that was brilliant. I would go back. I would do it again. I would pick different mezcals to try different stuff. But man, that was a lot of fun. And
that was just last weekend.
Yeah, and I think the food was good
just
too.
last
I
weekend,
didn't
man.
have any. Maybe I should have.
Smelled
but
good.
Yeah, It did smell and sound good both. So
Yeah.
that would be great.
But Skinny, we are here with you at the Georgia Craft Beer Festival, and Atlantucky recently celebrated their 2nd anniversary, right?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Ours.
2 years.
Oh, theirs.
Yours.
Oh.
Yours, yeah.
Yeah.
You're Atlantucky,
2.5.
right?
I'm in Atlantucky. Last time I checked.
Yeah.
It was good. 2.5 years. We opened up in February of 2022. And time flies, man.
It
like,
does, yeah.
I remember showing y'all the space when we just got the keys and we was giving away free beer.
Yeah.
We was buying kegs and giving it away just to get people accustomed to coming to our bar and hanging out and drinking beer. So we've learned a lot in the last 2 years about life, about people, about bills and taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Laws
And beer. And beer, right?
Beer. That was the beer was the easy
laws.
part.
Yeah.
You've learned some things about hot peppers. You were talking to me about
Yeah.
it earlier. I'm drinking the Habbo Manganero right
Habbo
now.
Manganero.
And you were telling me about how that recipe has evolved over time.
It has, man. When we first started, I really didn't know what I was doing per se, but I learned from other people like how they're like Ballast Point makes a habanero sculpting that's way too hot for me. So I didn't want to go that hot with it, but I wanted something everybody could drink but still have that. I love a good peppered beer. If I see that on the menu, I'm going to try it on a flight or something like that. But as I've traveled, a lot of people don't do peppered beers the right way, in my opinion. It's either too hot or it's not at all.
Too green. There's no heat.
Yeah.
It's just
Or
pepper
you're using
flavor,
like
right.
a flavoring or something for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's not how I actually cut the peppers, de-seed them, let them sit in pure grain alcohol for a couple weeks. Then I implement that back into the beer when it's time during the secondary. Then I have another jar just for the heat. When I take the seeds out, I put that into another jar, let that sit in some PGA as well, and then I bring that in to kind of control the heat as need be. Then other things happen even with that, because once you drop it down to 32 and put carb on it, other things happen within the beer that still has a chemistry effect. So I've learned a lot within just making that beer over the time that we've been open to figure out how to get it all the way almost how I like it and how other people have been receiving it today. And it's been a warm reception, literally.
We commented, we were talking in the first half of the show about what our favorite beers were here. And Smalls said, she's like, you know what, the Habbo Manganero, is it? And then Brian, he's like, you know what, I don't want to repeat the same thing Smalls said. So I'll say
else.
this.
Yeah.
But then I said, I'm like, I don't care if I repeat. This has been my favorite I've tried today, because we were talking about, like you said, when you first opened up, you're brewing, you're handing out and that.
Yeah.
We've tried that since V1.
Right.
We've seen how it's evolved, and it does. The pepper's there. The heat is there, but you're not crying. You can drink it.
Yeah. You don't
it's
need
not
milk
one-
after it.
Right. And we were thinking Smalls had one of them. We've got a place here selling New Zealand meat pies at the festival, and she had one, and she's like, that went great with a
It's
meat pie.
perfect with those meat pies. Perfect.
Actually, I
haven't
think
had
hers
that.
was a mushroom pie, actually,
Oh.
but a hand pie there. So.
Yeah,
I
I
think
see
it'll go
them
well
selling
with
it down
that,
there. I want to try it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't want to eat until I get pretty much done with everything,
And then
because,
it's nap time, right?
man,
It's taking that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like a newborn baby here in a minute once I get through with this.
Yeah. Good
But
stuff.
I think that Habbo Manganero would go good with tacos, nachos. We put this beer in our hazy chicken pizza. So it's in the sauce for our hazy chicken pizza. So it's got a heat to that too as well. So I think it's a well-rounded, spicy, peppered beer.
Get some fish tacos and some Habbo Manganero, you'll be good to go,
Man,
right?
listen.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Well, Skinny, we've seen, you were talking about like your pizzas and stuff there. So when you first opened, you were a brewery. You
Right.
did beer.
Yep.
And an art gallery, community art gallery.
Yep,
You did
yep.
events there. So beer, concerts, art exhibitions, you do special events.
Yep.
Recent addition is, I believe it's paninis and pizzas.
Pies and paninis,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of control the narrative on the food. We used to have food trucks and different vendors come in, but they're so sporadic. Something happens to their daughter or they're late, now everybody there can't really enjoy what, you want to eat something when you're drinking beer. And so we realized in order for us to really control that narrative, we have to do this ourselves and bring our own chefs into the kitchen
Right.
and really make it like, if you had told me I would have been in a restaurant business 20 years ago or 10 or 5, I would have laughed at you all those years. Like, what? No way. And now I'm clearly I have a brew pub. We're working on our alcohol license, so our third bar, we actually have cocktails. So for those that really want to, take it there and enjoy the night without drinking a bunch of beer the whole time. Some people don't like beer. Some people might come with a date and she doesn't want it. And so we want to have something for everybody when you come to Atlantucky that you can hang out and enjoy the experience.
Skinny, are you a cocktail drinker? And if so, what cocktails do you enjoy?
I like a nice bourbon. I'll take a nice whiskey. I like an old-fashioned. I'll take a spicy Bloody Mary. Is that a cocktail?
Yeah, that counts.
Okay.
It's good stuff.
You could start making micheladas, too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was. Yeah, they said I can do that with the habanero.
You totally could.
Oh,
That would be great.
For sure.
Yeah. So we're looking at all those things. I don't really drink gin. I don't really drink vodka anymore. And I do like a nice tequila, though.
How about some mezcal?
I do a mezcal.
There you go.
There we go.
I take a good margarita if the bartender looks nice.
Yeah, there you go. So have you, speaking of spirits, have you got stuff in barrels yet? You doing any barrel age?
For the anniversary we just had, I did the King sauce, which is our stout. I put that into a barrel for a year and turned it into Lord sauce.
That's right.
My son's gamer tag is King Lord sauce when he plays video games.
All right.
So I thought his a very cool name, and so I used both of his game names to make this stout to put it some flair on it. But I just got 4 barrels from Uncle Nearest. They gave us 4 empty barrels. And Fawn and Keith and Victoria Butler, they're really nice, good friends of ours. And I asked for 2, he sent me 4. So I'm about to start putting some stouts into that over the next. I'll probably put the stouts in there this summer and let them age for a couple years. So I have one come out every year over the next couple of years. So I'm excited,
Sounds
man.
good. We had Lord Sauce in the anniversary. And that was really
Did you get a bottle?
Well,
you dropped the bottle.
Did.
You drank the bottle.
I did. So we had to go because we had our friend Jason from Orpheus was moving out of the country. And we left to go to his, we're like, hey, we'll be back. We're going to his going away party. And then the going away party went later and we didn't make it back. So we lost out on the bottles.
Well, I got some bottles for you because you held on to the Humdinger longer than I held on to mine.
Yeah, that's right. We did.
I still have.
You still have
one? Of the Humdinger and the glass.
What?
So I have both.
So, sometime this week, man, come down. I got 2 bottles for you.
All right.
One to drink and one to age. So the next time we come back.
That is perfect. Perfect.
I don't know which one. I'll let y'all fight over which one gets drunk. But
we'll figure it out. See, I'm so easy-going now. As I become an elderly gentleman, I've slowed down, Skinny. So
you're a distinguished gentleman.
That's it, man. A couple of beers, just a couple beers, and I'm good to go. I still like to drink. We did, I probably had a little bit more last weekend than I do typically because we went to a few different places and had a good time. A couple weekends before that, we went up to Cartersville, Georgia, to the auto museum there to see all the cool cars and stuff. And that was so
nice.
And we hit a brewery and a bar up there and stuff, so that was a good time. But just going around.
If Tim gets enough mezcal in the system, it starts that engine. There's a certain engine
you got to be careful to get the engine started.
And then it's on. And when it's on,
it likes the pilot light.
Once you light that pilot light,
primes the engine.
Yeah.
I usually try to stay under the engine starting level these days, man. It's for the best.
My engine light doesn't come on anymore. So that's my problem.
Okay. All right.
So I just keep going till I just blow a gasket or something. I don't know.
Just running all the time, man.
Hangovers are not the same as they used to be.
They hurt more and last longer.
Hangovers and brain freezes.
Yeah. Oh, it's brutal. Like, I used to be able to recover from this. No. It hits you the next day.
You're out for like 2 days.
And the next day. And the next day. You're like, when is this over? I'm like, I paid for this. I'm like, I was good. What's going on? No.
I tell you when to get off this ride, buddy.
Yeah. I think that was my first indication that I was definitely getting older and the body was changing. Is when I had go out drinking on a Saturday, and I'm like, I feel awful on Sunday, and then Monday I still feel awful. I'm like, man, this if it goes on more than
am I dying?
Right.
Is my liver not working right? Or
Jesus, take the wheel.
I was gonna say, I should have recovered by now, and I definitely feel the. After a good Saturday, on Monday, I mentally feel it. Just, even if I sleep really well, I still mentally feel it.
Oh, yeah. The nausea part, for me, is like, it's the worst. Like, you want to throw up, but you can't, even though you should, but you don't. Then you're ever dry heaving,
You close your eyes and the room spins. You open your eyes and the room spins.
Yeah, or you open your eyes and you feel like only one eye's open. I'm blind in the eye. I've lost hearing and I can't smell. Do I have COVID or am I just drunk?
Gravity doesn't make sense.
I think we're operating at different levels because I'm not quite to that point. But yeah, I still feel it. I still feel it on Monday.
He's been there. I've got
quite.
pictures.
I'm sure he's been there.
You, so.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
have.
you know, on that note, you know, we've known each other a few years now.
Yeah.
Some changes through. When we first met you were just starting to do some collabs with breweries and that.
Right.
Has your drinking changed? Not just the way you drink, but kind of what you drink and how you look at beer now.
Well, I went and got checked up last summer, and I haven't had a checkup in a while. And so my cholesterol was high, and I just wanted to try to get my life back right. My doctor said, you need to try to bring it down to about 2 glasses a day. I said, but I own a brewery. She's like, hey, you want to live or you want to die? I said, I kind of want to live. So, all right. So I've been trying to be conscientious on how much I drink on a daily basis. I'm down to about 2 or 3. Sometimes
You're doing
4.
your best. You're giving
I'm
it
trying.
your best
Sometimes
try.
It was light. It was a session. It was a session ale. It was light.
I think as long as it's divisible by 2, it's good. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's how
but
it works.
I've been more conscientious of how much I drink. I don't drink at home when I go. Wife and kids. If I kick it at Atlantucky, chill out, drive home, then start back up again, it's like I have a drinking problem, and I don't want to end up with a drinking problem. My grandfather, he died an alcoholic, and no one wanted to be around him. And he died before I was born, so I didn't get a chance to meet him. But all my uncles and aunts, they couldn't say nothing good about him. And he was a world-class chef, but he had a drinking problem. And so I don't want to end up like that. My mom says, you know what's in your blood? I'm like, Ma, you don't know what's in my blood. It's more than just alcohol. I got weed in there. All kind of crazy shit.
We're crossing the streams up, Mom.
But no, I try to be conscientious now more than I used to be in my 20s. I'm late 40s. I'll be 50 in 2 years. And it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah,
That is
I think
true.
it's buddy. It's good when you realize that because really, let's be honest about the craft beer industry. It's easy to get there, man. You're hanging out, and we did. COVID changed a lot of things. I mean, pre-COVID, we'd be at 3 breweries on a Saturday. We'd have an event on a Thursday. We'd have something else Tuesday. We'd do the show, and people want you to try this. Let's pull off the tank.
Course.
Let's do this. Let's do that. It's easy to get into that culture of overconsumption continuously because it's there.
Yeah.
And as a brewer, I'm making this beer. I want to make sure things are good. How's this batch coming along?
Right.
And all of this.
You look up, you're drunk.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. I was hanging out with a brewer, and of course I'm not going to call anybody out by name, but we were hanging out, going around, walking around a festival, and he realized he'd sat his beer down somewhere, and you could see anxiety. Like the fact that he didn't have a beer at the ready really stressed him out, and I'm just like, that happens, man. You got to watch out for it.
I was like that with weed.
Yeah.
If I didn't get high, I'd be upset. And so I had to chill out. Like, literally, I stopped smoking weed about 2 years ago. And it changed my life to where I'm like, all right, I don't need to hit this joint every time there's a joint.
Yeah.
And it's given me that ability to self-control that I felt like I was losing by just indulging in a bunch of things because everybody else was doing it. And so where I'm at now in my life, I'm in a good place. I'm happy. The brewery's doing good. I'm not drinking all the proceeds up. I still try it every now and then, but I rotate. I'll try this beer today just to see how it goes for R&D purposes. But we're not really me and Scales used to go hard in the paint because no one was telling us don't do it. But then we had to kind of self-regulate ourselves and be like, all right, man, we still got to run and operate. And no one wants to be around a drunk or wet. You just wet, like no reason. Like, why are you drunk at 2:00 in the afternoon? There's no reason.
You
for
know
that.
what?
Unless you're getting married or someone died.
Right. And you guys kind of got that double whammy because, I mean, being in the music industry, that lifestyle there, it's a party lifestyle there.
Oh, my God.
And then,
your rider has 5/5 on the table, plus wings.
You're expected to be on that all the time, doing that every night, like every night's a party.
It gets bad, man, because you get on the road, you're drunk, you're hungover, and you got to drink again just to get back in it the next day. So now you're chasing the dog that bit you the first time. And you don't really learn your lesson until you get off the road, and you probably got to go to AA or get hypnotized or something to stop drinking.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've learned to kind of control myself and not get caught up in the hype of the moment because everybody else is doing it. If everybody's having a beer or a drink, that means I probably I can have one, but I got to watch so I don't end up at 4 or 5 and I'm throwing up in the bathroom. And we ain't even went on the stage yet. Like, you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
It's very hard to earn money when you're hungover and drunk. And, you got to be on point. Especially for me as an owner of a brewery and as an artist, you're on the clock all the time. And you got to make sure that, you're not embarrassing yourself or ruining your brand or tarnishing it by being that doesn't have the engine light that comes on. Like mine. But I know my engine light doesn't come on, so therefore, I'm not going to just push it.
So you know the math. It's like the gauge is broken, but I know about how far I can go with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that car you've had forever. You're like, none of the lights work, but I know how she rolls.
Yeah. I can still drive 5 miles. I don't need gas right now. And everybody in your car's like panicking, like, yo, we need to get gas. Like, no, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're solid.
I got AAA. Don't worry about it. It's like,
we can call for help if we need to. Oh, man. You know what? No, good stuff, though. I appreciate you being, open and honest with us there. That,
it's like therapy, man.
Yeah. Musician.
It's like a priest. I just talked to 2 priests right now.
That's right. The fathers of beer.
The only problem is instead of Hail Marys, we tell you, take 3 IPAs and this and that. That's like... That's
right.
not going to help the situation any.
Not at
but
all.
I do want to get something out. We do have our Crafted for Action. It's a beer conference. It's our 3rd year hosting it. Jen Price, if you know her, she's really awesome in the craft beer industry. She's bringing, diversity, equity, inclusion, and more awareness for African Americans drinking beer. And she's having multiple things throughout the week. And it's a really good time, man. And I think it's one of the very few beer conferences that I've been to that is really help changing and bringing more people into the actual into the fold in the industry. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that we'll be there at Atlantucky on June 19th through June 22nd this year. It's Juneteenth weekend, and it's a lot of seminars and learning and opportunities for everyone to participate in the experience of craft beer. I think it's fun for everyone, male, female, rich, poor, no matter who you vote for or who you pray to. I think beer brings all of us together to have honest conversations. And this is something that's going to bring more people. African Americans occupy less than 1% of the craft beer industry. And out of the 9,500 breweries in the country, we have 85.
Yeah.
Whether they're breweries in development or there's actual brick and mortar or they're contracting or they're home brewers that are really trying to just step into the actual game, this opportunity allows everyone to kind of get on an equal playing field and learn from some of the people that are doing it on all those angles that I was just mentioning. And I want to make sure you guys are aware and check it out and just come and say hi, try some beers. It's a beer share that we're actually having. It's the first day, 19th is a meet and greet and beer share. So I'm sure you guys can bring something out the back.
We got some stuff.
We've got a few things,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Understatement, guys. Understatement. These guys are the gurus of craft beer here in Georgia.
Keep them stacked up. But you've got, some of the events, just looking here, kicking off on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Panelist meet and greet. You're doing your beer share there. Other conference panels. You're doing a happy hour.
Yep.
Atlanta History Beer Dinner. Want to play game night? Got a game night there. So more panels, discussions, awards. Looks like the Crafted Fellows doing a pitch competition there.
Yep. So it's that. But also on the 21st is a cool one because she'll have female producers come in and they'll drink the beer and they'll make a beat based off the beer they drank.
That's cool.
So they're converting beer experience into actual music and sound. And there's some really good, talented women out there making beats into that space because you don't really hear about a lot of women producers, but they're there and they have talent.
Yeah.
Some are classically trained musicians and they're coming in and they're getting on their machines and making these beats. So it's a really good time. The whole week it'll be. I can't express how much this means to people that are trying to get into the beer industry. They might not know anybody, but you get a chance to meet people that look like you and talk, and then you start meeting new people, and now you're trying new things with different beers. Now you're going to different breweries now. Just because you might drink beer at home, you might be an introvert, but it gives you a chance to get out there and meet people and learn some things. So it's a really good time. I hate to take this opportunity and not mention, the Crafted for Action beer conference.
For sure. Crafted for Action. I think, let's see, the website's craftedforaction.com.
Right.
You can go there, check out more info, see everything, but it is the week of Juneteenth, Atlanta, and online sessions.
Absolutely,
If you can't make it to Atlanta.
You can't make it to have online sessions as well.
So June 19th and June 22nd.
Yep, at Atlantucky. Most of it's at Atlantucky.
Through June 22nd.
Through June 22nd. All right. Nice.
Good stuff, man. So 2 years in, What's next, man? Where do you want to go next? Because you're constantly evolving.
Yeah. So we're working on album 10 right now. So on the Nap Root side, we're still in the studio every week recording. And, we're trying to get geared up for World Cup. We're one block south of Mercedes-Benz.
Right.
So we're looking at
Oh, yeah.
all of those games that are going to be at Mercedes-Benz for World Cup. And really just trying to lay in the cut. We got a cannon line coming this summer. So we're able to get product out into the market without going through distribution route. We're not really interested in that right now. And I would say just trying to just stay there and stay open, really, because it's very hard
Right
to.
now, that's the big goal. Gotcha.
It's very hard. I mean, your landlord's raising the rent. If you can't get your beer to the market without distro, it's kind of difficult to get the brand out. But we think if we just stay there, stay humble, keep making good beers, providing food, we'll bring the alcohol in for those that want cocktails, look at the World Cup as it happens, and then hopefully going into 2030, we could probably start trying to get a couple tap rooms opened up in Tennessee and Kentucky.
All right.
And
I wonder
bring
when
the
Kentucky was coming.
bring the
Yeah.
Tucky part to Atlantucky.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
My parents are
Awesome.
getting older, so I'm sure I'm going to have to go back a little bit more and help them out and do things that way. And I don't mind going back to Kentucky at a certain age, but I really wanted to win in Atlanta for a while to raise my family.
Sure.
So as my daughter graduates next week from high school, and I got one more left in the chamber. He'll be a sophomore next year. He's
right.
playing football. So if I can get him out the house, which he says he's not leaving, if I can get him out the house, then I can have more freedom to kind of go up and down the highway a little more than I did when I was in Nappy Roots in the prime. I missed out a lot on my kids touring back at the height of Nappy Roots. So kind of want to be around here for a little while, but once they get older, try to put like I said, a tap room in Kentucky would be a nice little look by 2030.
That'll be good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Skinny DeVille,
Yes, sir.
Atlantucky Brewing, Nappy Roots, new music, new beers,
Yeah,
all
man.
kinds of cool stuff. Crafted for action. The
Yes,
week
sir.
of Juneteenth.
It's our third year hosting it, so it's growing.
Good stuff, man. At Atlantucky Brewing.
Yes, sir.
I can say that word, but I still have
At-
to focus.
At Atlantucky. I can't even say it.
When you add the at to the
Atlantucky
front of it,
Brewing.
it gets hard. Yeah.
and online at
At
craftedforaction.com.
Atlantucky, yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Thank you guys, man. Thank you for the
Yes.
opportunity. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure we'll be back to your location. You still at the same spot, right?
No, we got evicted.
Oh,
We did.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, drank all the beer up.
We did.
We're
We're remote.
ran
We're
completely
remote.
dry.
So we'll come to
Yeah.
your spot. How's
Yeah,
that
Let's
we'll
sound?
come
do
to
it.
your
Yeah,
spot.
man.
Good
You're
deal.
more than welcome.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Well, y'all, that is our show for this week. Great time at Georgia Craft Beer Festival. We appreciate you tuning in. We hope you all have a great week. And we say it every week, go out and drink your local beer. Support
Yeah,
your
do
local
it.
brewers.
Yeah, man.
Make sure that their doors stay open and just have a good time. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you for having us. Or
bet.
me.
You, me, us, everybody. It was a good time.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.